Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for March 18th, 2023 from the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. Well, the weather was pretty crazy today. They had been calling for mostly sunny skies in the morning, but actually it was cloudy when I first got out. In this photo here, you can see a bit of sun started to come out, but then we had a pretty big snow squall go through mid-morning. And really for the next couple hours, it was back and forth between sunshine and snow squalls, sunshine and snow squalls. And the winds kept getting stronger, although the wind was from a good direction. It was mostly a west-southwest wind, so that was a favorable wind direction. But by the end of the day, the winds were just very, very strong, and we eventually abandoned the platform and stayed beside the platform, using it to block the wind a little bit. So kind of a crazy day weather-wise. It's tough when you're getting bounced around by the wind, especially in these cold temperatures, but we had a pretty good flight, so let's get into the bird photos. There were a lot of snow geese on the move today. We had about 4,000, which might be the highest I've ever had in a day at Braddock Bay. Just a lot of snow geese in the region this winter and spring. Normally they go up along the east side of Lake Ontario, but it's just been a really good year for them in the Rochester area. Seems like they're straying a little farther west this year. Here's a pair of wood ducks flying by. We had a small flock of 8 cedar waxwings in the morning, which were the first ones for the season. Here we have an immature bald eagle, and you can see some snow in front of it. That's the white speckling. This is a rock pigeon. Now, a couple years ago, I had a white-winged dove fly by that I just rode off in the field as a pigeon, and I didn't realize until I went through my photos at home that night that it was actually a very rare white-winged dove. So now I check every pigeon very closely so I don't make that same mistake again. Here we have a juvenile bald eagle, and we had a lot of eagle activity today. Eagles are able to handle the stronger winds better than some other species. Here we have another young bald eagle, and we can see this one has kind of a messy wing, a lot of feather wear. Here's kind of an interesting bird, and this is very similar to one that we saw towards the beginning of the count this season. This is a third-year bald eagle, but it's extremely dark for that age. Normally, in their third year, they have a white belly and more white on the head. But you can see this bird's very, very dark. We can see one longer retained juvenile feather on each wing. That helps us age it. So very similar to that one we saw a few weeks ago, and I'll have to keep an eye out for more birds like this in the future. Here's one of 2 American kestrels that we had today. Remember that kestrels are our smallest falcon. Here we have a classic adult bald eagle. We had the biggest day of the season so far for turkey vultures with 176. I saw this small bird coming and went straight for my camera, and as I was photographing it, I saw the dark throat and got excited thinking maybe it was a Lapland longspur, but it turned out just to be a male house sparrow. Although we don't see that many house sparrows at the Hawk Watch, so it's kind of an interesting sighting. But otherwise, they're usually considered pretty annoying. Here we have an adult Cooper's hawk. So we see that it's an accipiter, so it has a very long tail, kind of long wings, although it's a little bit tucked in because of the strong winds. And that's something that's common with days with strong winds, is sometimes Cooper's hawks tuck in and can look more like sharp-shinned hawks, so you have to be a little bit careful. But we can see this bird has a big head. Looks like it has a pale nape, which is the back of the neck. We know that it's an adult because of the orange barring on the underside. And it looks like it might even have a full crop, which is the bulge in this area. And we'll see a couple red-tailed hawks here in a minute that show a full crop as well. We had a small number of killdeer migrating today, although with the strong winds, sometimes it's hard to hear them, so sometimes they can sneak by unnoticed. Here we have a horned lark. And the thing that catches my eye about this photo is how white these feathers are. I think that's actually a pigment issue. Some kind of abnormality on this bird, rather than just a photo artifact. So kind of interesting to note. Here's a group of 5 sandhill cranes. And with the sandhill cranes today, we had a group of 5. And then we had another group of 4. And later we had 1. And then at one point we saw 3, but then 2 more joined it to make 5 again. And some were going one way, some were going the other way. So it was hard to keep track of how many in total we saw. But we definitely had the group of 5 and the group of 4 at the same time, so there was at least 9. I think I put 10 total on my list for the day, but cranes do that sometimes. They'll go by, they'll come back, they circle around. Sometimes they'll be in sight for a long time, and It's like they can't figure out which way they want to go. It was a great day for red-shouldered hawks. We had a total of 35, and all of the ones that were close enough to age were adults, which is typical that the adults come through a little earlier because they have to get up to the breeding grounds. But red-shouldered hawk adults just have this classic plumage that's orange, and then they have kind of a black and white pattern to the wings and tail. And remember, the tail on red-shouldered adults is like a blackboard with thin white chalk lines. Here we have a red-tailed hawk. So we see very faint patagial bars on this one. I guess you can see it a little bit more on this wing. And it's got the belly band. And I believe this is an adult because it looks like it has a dark trailing edge to the wing and a red tail. And we can see that this bird also has that bulge. So it has a full crop, meaning that it ate recently. Here we have a flock of northern pintails, and they have kind of a skinny shape to them. And you can see the long tails on the males. Here's one of 4 rough-legged hawks that migrated past today. This is a light morph. But we can see that it has quite a bit of dark up in this area. It's not just the dark patagial bars in the shoulder like we see on red tails. It's more of this whole underwing section here. This bird looks like it has a bit of a belly band, maybe similar to red tail, but looks like it also has kind of a bib on the upper breast. So this might be a male. And just the shape of rough legs is quite a bit different. They have a little bit of their flap looks a little bit weaker to me than, say, a red tail. And they also hold their wings up in what's called a modified dihedral, which is sort of a V that goes up and then flattens out. So just the way they fly and their overall shape, they stand out as different than red tails and red shoulders. Here's another adult red-shouldered hawk, and these are just gorgeous birds on sunny days. Here we have an adult red-tailed hawk, and it's kind of a funny shape because it's almost like it's changing direction in midair. So that's just the reason for the funny posture. You can see the alula feathers sticking out a little bit. Normally these are hidden. And we can see the dark patagial bars in the shoulder and the belly band. Lets us know it's a red tail. And we also see the dark trailing edge to the wing and the red tail that let us age it as an adult. Here's another adult red-shouldered hawk in a glide posture. So you can see the wings are tucked back a little bit and the tail is folded. Here we have another red-tailed hawk with a full crop. This one's got quite the bulge here, big full crop. We had the first tree swallow of the season today, which is normally the first swallow to arrive, but you may remember that we had a cliff swallow back on March 2nd that was crazy early, just by far a new record for maybe even the whole state. Here we have the top side of a Cooper's hawk. Again, note the really long tail. Looks a little bit rounded. It's a typical Cooper's hawk feature that people like to point out. Fairly large-headed with straighter wings. Just a little bit bigger and bulkier than a sharp-shinned, able to handle the strong winds that we had today a little bit better. We did have a Sharpie at one point that was pretty much getting blown sideways. And here's an underside look at the same Cooper's hawk. Some of the flocks of snow geese today were quite low, letting us get good looks and good photos. Here's a turkey vulture going by that gives us a good look at the head, which is reddish pink with no feathers on it. Here's another adult red-shouldered hawk, and in this photo you can see the pale crescents near the wingtips, and that stands out even more when the bird is soaring and spreads its feathers out a little bit more, but you can see it here with the sun shining through it. Here we have a juvenile bald eagle, and this is pretty typical of what the juveniles are looking like this time of year, where they don't really have that really dark underside anymore. They've molted into more of a lighter brown underside. We see that even trailing edge to the wing because all of the feathers are the same age, and a lot of white in the wing pit area. Some of the groups of snow geese that we saw today were quite large, up to 750 or 1,000 birds. And here's one more look at some sandhill cranes that were soaring around at the end of the day. If we look at the eBird checklist, today I had 62 species, and as always I'll put a link down below. And if we look at hawk count for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 176 turkey vultures, 22 bald eagles, 6 northern harriers, 2 sharp-shinned hawks, 7 Cooper's hawks. Good day for buteos with 35 red-shouldered hawks and 43 red-tailed hawks, plus 4 rough-legged hawks. And for falcons, we had 2 American kestrels for a total of 297 migrants. We had 3 new species for the season, which were cedar waxwing, tree swallow, and snow bunting. Looking at the forecast, tomorrow will be cloudy with gusty winds, some flurries or snow showers possible, high just above freezing, winds west at 20 to 30 miles per hour. So the strong winds and cold temperatures are continuing from today into tomorrow. Today we had the benefit of the winds being west-southwest, so a slight southerly component, along with sunshine to help generate thermals. Although on these windy days, maybe it's debatable how much the thermals are actually there because of the strong winds, but definitely seems to help get the birds up. Tomorrow, the winds are more straight out of the west, and we won't have the sun to help us build thermals, so we'll be a little less favorable than today. Seems like the winds are going to be on the stronger end for the whole day as well, whereas today they started out lighter and then increased throughout the day. So not looking quite as good tomorrow as we had today, but I would imagine that there will be some raptors pushing through. Wouldn't be surprised to see some groups of turkey vultures moving and small numbers of other things. And maybe we'll be surprised. Westerly winds aren't terrible, but usually when they're this strong, it's just not very favorable. So we'll see what we can find, but not looking like the best day. But if we look ahead to Monday, it'll be sunny with a high in the mid-40s, winds west-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. So Monday is looking like excellent conditions, and I would expect a pretty big day for Monday. For Tuesday, cloudy with a high in the mid-40s, winds west at 10 to 15. So I would think it won't be as good as Monday, but it's still looking pretty good. Kind of those moderate westerly winds. Those are good winds for us to push through turkey vultures and stuff. So I would expect the good flight from Monday to continue into Tuesday. All right, today was a fun day, but pretty tough with the cold temperatures and the wind just knocking everyone around. It's tough to hold your binocular steady and to get your scope on birds. So thank you to everyone who braved the conditions and came out to spend this wonderful Saturday with us at the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. This was the biggest day so far this season, and numbers should keep picking up over the next few weeks as we come into the peak of the turkey vulture migration. So I hope to see you out at the platform soon. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.